at Hyundai head office. This is the IONIQ 6 Epiq trim, which is the top spec with digital side mirrors. Thanks Hyundai Australia for the press car. I'll give you guys the review over the next week. Alright, so at 97%, we've just picked the car up, 97%, 453 kilometers on range. Alright guys, we are back in the IONIQ 6, so 431 kilometers on range, 96% state of charge. We are currently in sports mode. We are connected to our race box, and let's give this a go. 0 to 100, 1 foot off. So we are good to go. We'll just wait for clear traffic, and yeah. So I couldn't find any other settings except switching this drive mode on. There was no battery conditioning or anything like that. So foot on the brake, accelerator, let's go. Ooh, that's not too bad. So I wonder what time that was. We'll have a look in a moment. I'd say based on initial feel, it is quicker than the IONIQ 5, even though this is also the 77.4 kilowatt, 239 kilowatt, 77.4 kilowatt hour battery with 239 kilowatts worth of power. It felt pretty much the same. So we'll skip the video in a moment. We'll have a look at what time we got, and then we'll go for one more run. Alright, so looking at the times, 5.09 seconds, 0 to 100, slope is 0.5%. So 5.09, so that's 1 foot off. So if we did subtract it, then it'd probably be about 4.8 thereabouts, 4.7, 4.8 to 100 k's an hour. So that's the first one. Let's give a go for a second one, and we'll see how we go. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
0 to 60 kilometers per hour time 2.50 seconds. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour time 5.12 seconds.
Okay, so 5.12. So it's pretty much around 5 seconds thereabouts, give or take just a little bit. But 0 to 100 is about 5 seconds. So I'll put up the times again as an overlay on the two 0 to 100 speeds that we got. And yeah, so that's basically almost our full charge. It was from about 96-97%, and that's probably the best that we could do. It was ideal conditions. It's pretty warm. The only thing that I wasn't sure of was if there was a function or a feature to actually precondition the battery so that you can get that better push. So I don't think it exists in this car, so this would have been the best that we could do. Here with me is the Hyundai IONIQ 6 World Car of the Year from 2023. What do you guys think? We'll do a walk around. I'll take you guys through the interior. We'll go for a drive, and then we'll cover off anything else you guys want to know about the car. Let's go. All right, so let's have a walk and talk around the car. So here's the design cues on the front. What do you guys think? We've got active air vent grills over here. So these two open up as you start the car. It's got an average size bonnet, nothing too long, nothing too short. You can see on the side over here, you've got the digital side mirrors. So again, this is the IONIQ 6 in the Epiq trim, which is the top spec. And the key differences between this and the mid-spec essentially is the digital side mirrors, which I'll take you guys through. On the side, it's a square set on front and back with the 20-inch wheels. So they are 245/40 R20. You've got door handles that close in flat for aerodynamics, and it's got a really good drag coefficient. And if you walk up to the car, it will unlock and open. There you go. And the mirrors open there as well. So that's all this side. On the left-hand side, we'll come around to the back. So over here on the back, very cool design cue. So lots of LED lights that come around the back. You've got your IONIQ 6 logo. You've got the camera right here along with the button to actually open the boot right here. And you've got an extended spoiler out here, which is the unique bit. And it looks like it's got lots of squares, but very unique design cues. And if we come round through to this side, you'll see that the back profile here, as I said, looks very like a CLA. Also looks like it has Porsche 911 cues, just with the extended spoiler over here. And then I also noticed that the antenna up here is actually clear, so hopefully you guys can see that through the camera. Very unique. And we'll come back further back over here. We'll check out the charge port in a moment, so let's unlock the car. So all you need to do for the charge port is push this button. That opens there. So you've got a light there to indicate how much charge you've got. You've got your general AC point here, pulling that out, CCS2 or DC port as well. And then you can just hold that there to close. So external V2L as well. And yeah, that's everything to do with the exterior of the car. And we'll take a quick look actually at the side cameras. So unlocked, so again, clear over here on this part. So they do flash as LEDs so you can see at night. And this covers the front of them right there. Alright, let's take a look at the inside of the car. So you can see how wide this door opens. I'm parked in the middle in a normal car parking spot, and this is almost literally a 90-degree angle that you can open. So first turn or first door opening, let's see, that's about that much there. That's the first one, that's the second one, and the third. So it can open really wide. Alright, from the seats, or from what you can see, you'll notice that it is fairly flat on the side bolsters. Down here where your backside sits, and also over here, it doesn't protrude too much. But the one thing that I guess you guys should know when you first sit in this is the seating position. So it's actually a lot lower to the ground than the IONIQ 5, and I know it's exaggerating, but I guess this is more of a sports car style seating where your legs are actually more extended out over here, as opposed to sitting more upright and off the ground. So when you are sitting, you're essentially sort of sticking your legs out further straight, as opposed to sitting further up and then bending your legs. So that's one thing to consider. And in terms of the seating, so these ones are the top spec in the Epiq trim. There is no relaxation seats per se, with anything to stick out over here. But they are quite comfortable, they are heated, they are ventilated as well. So let's have a look at the rest of the interior. So from a button side of things, you've got your usual controls for the mirrors over here, left, right, fold in, fold out, with the adjustments there. Handbrake, traction control, charge port, and boot. And then over here on the side, you've just got your seating 1 and 2 seating positions, along with opening the doors. Bose designation to let you know you've got Bose speakers, and tiny cup holders or umbrella holders as you might use. So let's get in and I'll show you the rest of the interior. Alright, so once you sit in, as I said, you do sit much more straight. Your legs are a lot more straight in terms of driving, as opposed to sitting up and then having bent knees. But we'll bring the camera back up. So first thing, let's do a pan around. So side mirror, front dash, here's a steering wheel if I hold the camera further back. There's the head unit, some controls over there, air vents, side mirror, and then around to the other seat. If I pan back towards the bottom over here, you've got wireless phone charger, USB-A port, 2 cup holders over here. Then you've got some controls down over here. Auto hold windows for the front and for the back. You've got child lock windows, and then locking the car over here. If I pull the camera back over to this side, you'll see there is a lot of storage down over here. So you can fit heaps of stuff there. I'm not too sure what you'd want to put, but you can definitely put a lot of takeaway food there, so that'd be pretty amazing. Jumping back over here, you've got a little compartment. Pulling this up, you've got 2 USB-C ports in there, additional storage as well, and then a little storage tray over here. There is nothing else on this glove box to pull up or down. You've also then got on this seat over here, reclining functions for this seat over here. So this one here, obviously to raise the entire seat forward and backwards. You've then got this one to go forward, and you can move the entire seat as well. So that will obviously help people at the back. So that's everything to do with the front. And of course, the one thing we forgot to cover is the sunroof. So flip the camera around. So where is it? Up over here, you've got a button. Oh, we might need to start the car. So just this button here once you've started the car. So it's not a really big sunroof compared to some of the other EV cars that we've seen, but it does totally open up and you can get out and see around you. So you can physically stick your hand out of the car or your head out of the car, and you can have stuff drop in, so I guess be mindful of that. But that's a sunroof over there. So we close it. You can stop it halfway at different points, and you can have it totally shut, and then it keeps the sun blind still open. And if you want the sun blind open closed, you just do that again, and again you can stop that halfway if you want as well, or you can keep it entirely closed. We've looked at the front, let's look at the back. So remember, this is a very sleek coupe style roof, so let's have a look at how much space there is on the inside. At first glance, you can see it really looks like a couch. From initial glance, it also looks like it's only a 2-seater at the back, but I do believe it is a 3-seater at the back. So you've got one seatbelt over here, you've got another one here and another one on the side. 2 ISOFIX points that you can see over there, and then looking through here, you can see that it is very flat. And the other great thing about the back is that you've got V2L. Amazing. And then over here on the right, you've got a little bit of storage space, not much, but you do have a little bit, and then 2 USB-C ports over here with your air vents. So I'm going to come in and I'll show you guys how much space there is for me. Alright. Oh, so jumping in, I actually just hit my head up here. So if you guys do want this, you do have to duck your head in, or you hit your head. And I've got the car running now in terms of the aircon, so I don't burn in here. But first things first, what I've noticed is you definitely do have a much lower roof. That's my fist, and I'm really squashed up against it. So if you're taller than me, and I'm not tall at all, 171 centimeters thereabouts, you'd borderline hit a couple of centimeters. I think you'd hit it from about 175 centimeters or thereabouts. You probably won't feel too comfortable. But anyways, let's continue. So what do you guys have in the back? Let's flip the camera around. So map pockets, USB-C storage, air vents, map pockets. From the door side of things, you can see speaker, potentially speaker or tweeter. You've got, actually I'll show you on this side. So you've got 2 settings for heated seats. You've got windows up and down, opening door handle, nothing else over here. You've got grab handles up on each side, here and also over here. You've got a light. Let's see if it's LED. Yes, it is. Fantastic. Good choice. And then let's have a look at the seats. So the rear, as I said, it's just heated only. There is no cooling, even though it shows perforation over here. This middle seat here, once you've pulled it down, 2 normal size cup holders. It doesn't look like there is a pass-through over here, but I do believe you can actually push the entire seats down. So there's your 1, 2, 3 seat belts at the back, and that covers everything that we've got here in the second row. But in all seriousness, if I look down here, this is my normal front seating position for the car as I'm driving. This is how much space I've got. I can literally put my legs out like that under the seat. It's not comfortable for my ankles doing this, but it's just to demonstrate that I literally can stretch pretty much all the way out. Is someone going to be comfortable? Let me flip the camera to show you guys. Look, realistically, I think so, because I can actually sit up like this to bend my legs. Yes, there's a gap underneath here, but I can sit up like this if I want. I can also stretch out my legs if I want. So to answer the question, is someone going to be comfortable here in the rear? The answer is absolutely yes. And I'll flip the camera around one last time. Look at all the space you guys have. People definitely won't be fighting for legroom in the back. What you will be fighting about, realistically, is probably smashing your heads against that. And also, I'll hold the camera out. I'm a fairly big guy. This is the second row. This is me in my seating position. I'd say I probably make the middle person feel uncomfortable unless they are a small child. So that's something to note. And I've got kid seats, so we're going to chuck them in a moment and I'll show you guys what that looks like. Adult wise, 2 in the back, 100% comfortable. 3 kids, definitely okay. 3 adults, absolutely squashy. But doable. You'd probably be like that half the time, but it is doable. So let's have a look at the boot and we'll look at the frunk and then we'll go through and install the seats. All right, let's take a look at the boot. I've already got something in here to show you guys. So one button there. So you can see it is a narrow entrance and it's not extremely wide based on the complete width of the car. But this is pretty much the maximum space that you guys have in the car. So that's probably a good explanation for you guys. So if you guys have any kids seats, you can fit 2 comfortably in there and that literally covers your boot. So we're going to take these out. We'll throw them in the second row and then I'll show you guys empty and how it looks like. What a mission putting these seats on in with the kids seats. 2 kid seats are in now. Took me just under 10 minutes to do both. And yeah, I did hit my head quite a few times purely because of the shape of the vehicle. It does get a bit hard to do the other side. So come around and I'll show you guys what I mean. So I'll flip the camera around. So you guys can see here, here's the kid seats. And what I meant was, if you look at the roofing space, it's pretty tight up here. And you got to get your hands through here. I can put the camera through to do the adjustments up here for that, and then to hook it in the back to the tether point. So that's essentially it. How much space do you have in the middle? Look, like I said, very limited space in the middle, but there are your 2 child seats all locked in, ready to go. For the rest of the boot, I did tell you guys that I originally had that had the kid seats there, so you can see that's how deep it is. And in terms of up the top, what do you got inside? Speaker, I believe, or maybe a subwoofer. Nothing on that side. These latches are to put the seats down on both sides, so there actually isn't anything inside to pull the seats down. So that's where you've got. Let's see what's here. I presume that's to change lights or to access something in there. This one here is the manual release latch for your charge port cable. And then down here, tire mobility kit. So no additional other storage, and I presume that's usual luggage net. So there you go, that's the boot. Let's see what you've got in the frunk. So here's the latch, pull that. Front's opened. Excuse the beep, just got the aircon running. So little latch down here, pull to the left. And there you go. That's all you've got. So V2O adapter and AC charging cable. That's really everything here. You can't put much more there. Alright, so when you first get in the car, mirrors always go on both sides. If I close the car, let's go through the startup sequence. So seat automatically moves forward. You'll see that the only thing on screen at the moment is the odometer and where the car is in terms of park, drive, reverse and so forth. Power button is here on the left, and then you've got your stalks over here to control driving, reversing and so forth. So foot on the brake, push this EV start stop. You've got your whole startup process. Aircon unit and everything else goes on. And then the rest of it is quite similar to some of the previous cars we've driven. General outline of all of the menus over here, and let's scroll through them just to take a quick look. So this is after recharging, so there's a button over here if you scroll. Accumulated info, current drive information, then you can switch pages. That's presumed for navigation. Switch to the next page, which is power distribution, and then tire pressure. We'll switch to this one. That I believe is to do with lane keeping distance, or the traffic aware cruise control. And then switch to this one is back to your normal settings. So that's pretty much all the stats you've got. Other general layout, speedo, current range 412 kilometers based on 92%. Seatbelt status, regen level, so currently on level 3. Use the paddles here to switch to max, which is I pedal, or on this side if you push them down, it just mimics a normal car at level 0. So there's that. And then drive mode over here, 3 settings, eco, sport and normal. And then in terms of the car menu, so once you hit home, that's your general menu over here. You've got Bluelink on this car as well, which is essentially the app to control the car, which is fantastic. You've got EV here just to, I guess, navigate through to whatever you need to. You can also activate V2L and set your settings for that in terms of electricity in the car or using appliances inside or outside of the car. General EV settings, which we won't go through in detail, but we have covered it off for some of the other vehicles before, which is quite similar. And then one thing I noticed that was new, that I haven't seen in other Hyundai or Kia cars yet, is valet mode. So you can set valet mode, and it says here it protects your privacy by disabling the infotainment system, screen and buttons. So Bluelink, as I said, was new for this car. You've got warmer ventilation settings, which is essentially your climate control settings on screen. Some of the controls are down here, including fan speed, temp and fan speed settings. All of that's here, but a lot of the controls such as steering wheel heating and also your heated cooling seats for here is all managed over here, and same with the rear as well. And then jumping across, you've got radio, media, information, notifications, manual. Nothing too special there. The one cool thing I thought when I was going through settings in Bluelink was you can actually go vehicle diagnostics. So once you click that, it actually is doing a full scan or check of the car. And you can see here, items checked 8. Everything seems to be normal. Now, out of curiosity, battery management system, normal. If we click on that, it just gives you general information on it. So it tells you exactly what each one is. And I presume if you hit nearby service center, it potentially navigates there for you. So there you have it. Any questions? As I said, continue to leave comments down below. Let's go for a drive and we'll see how everything is. And this is how big the glove box is. So it pulls out like a fridge. Fairly small. I don't think you can even fit a normal sized tissue box here, but there you go. Here is a great example of why having amazing cameras is really good. So front cameras, side cameras, 360 cameras. You can make sure the way that you're driving, you're not going to gutter rash your wheels at all. And you can also park in the perfect spot. Just like that. And so when you put it into reverse, you can reverse right up to the lines as well. Alright, let's take a look at ambient lighting. So in the car, you've got lighting that comes across the door seal over here and down the bottom where the cup holders are. I'll pan the camera across to the left so you can see across the dash you've got lighting over here as well. And then you've got the same light if I pan the camera out up here and down there, and the same thing is replicated out through to the back over there. So in terms of settings, you've actually got quite a lot. So ambient light or car settings, then to the lights you've got brightness, then the color. This is currently jade green. There are a whole bunch of colors that you can select here. So for example, aurora purple. So that's here on the left, here on the right, sorry. There's the left, and then to the back. You can also choose custom color, which allows you to set whatever colors you want. And if we go back, you go all the way to the top, there's dual color as well. So this is concentration, which is blue and green. Healing forest, I'll cycle through a few different ones. And there you have it. So I'll leave it on concentration at the moment, but essentially you can set different vibes to match your music, to match your mood for the car. Alright, we are on the M2 motorway. So it is a 100 zone at the moment, early in the morning. We've had the car for almost a week, so we're going to return the car tomorrow. Going to test the cruise control, lane keeping assist. We're going to test all of that in a moment, see how it goes, and then I'll give you the overview of how the week's been. So hopefully you guys can see all around, and we are in a little bit of traffic, still moving about 80 k's an hour. And so let's give lane keeping, cruise control, all of that stuff a go. So on the top left of the steering wheel, push that button, then it'll pretty much light up on the screen. It'll light up over here on the dash and on the heads up display at the speed that you're going. So I'll push it up to the speed limit to 100 kilometers an hour. There is distance that I can set to. At the moment it's set down to distance number 1. Lane keeping is flashing at the moment. It's now showing green, which means that it has detected the lanes. And I've turned on auto steering as well. Now I'm not too sure if you can see that, if it does show up on the camera over here, but basically in front of the dash there's a little green steering wheel and little green lanes for lane keeping assist. The lane keeping assist also does show up on the heads up display, as does the cars in front. It just looks like a little rectangular block. So I'm just holding on the steering wheel lightly right now. So hopefully you guys can see it's holding it fairly straight. I'm not feeling any mini vibrations or anything on the steering wheels going straight, so I guess that's a good start. And at 100 zone, I've just got my first warning notification to say hands on the steering wheel. So 100 zone, it's doing about 75 to 80 kilometers an hour with the distance set at 1. So its car's braking now. So it's keeping its distance fairly well. Let's see how it manages with a truck in front. So doing 87 at the moment. Truck's moved out of the way. It's been set cruise control has been set to 100 kilometers. So it was 87, it's now increased to about 93, 94. So it accelerates fairly slowly. 93, 92, 90, so it's probably detected the car in front. Now we're not going fast enough for me to switch lanes and to test if this car will auto lane change as well, as we've got a truck over this side and we've got cars speeding up over this side, so I won't give that a go yet. Oh, and another warning, keep hands on steering wheel. So I guess that's also a potential issue, that you know the steering is quite light, so even if you are kind of holding on the steering wheel, you do need to give it like little movements for it to actually detect that you are using the steering wheel and you do actually have your hands on the steering wheel. But look, so far it seems to be doing fairly well. I haven't really felt any jerky movements. I haven't felt the car slam on its brakes or anything, and that's been steady traffic, so it's doing well so far. So we've just tried to change lanes, and basically it didn't change lanes for me automatically, so that's just something to note. It does have the lane keeping assist, steering assist, radar cruise control, it's got all of that, but it doesn't auto change lanes for you, so just be wary of that. It's not the end of the world, but just something to take note of. So far driving, look, as I said, the only thing really is that because the steering is light, there were a few instances where it did say, you know, keep your hands on the steering wheel, when in reality, yes, my hand was on the steering wheel. So you do have to give it a little bit of a jiggle or a bit of movement in the steering wheel so that it just keeps quiet. So that's that. Let's talk about range, battery capacity and all of that. So said 400 something. I'll put an overlay picture of when we picked it up. 400 something on range at almost about 100% when we picked it up. In terms of drive, so at the moment we've driven for 35 minutes, so we started at about 10 or 11 minutes, so about 25 minutes driving so far. And at 25 minutes driving, we are so far averaging about 21.1 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. It is on the thirstier side at the moment, and I say at the moment because I did have the car on idle for about 10 minutes. Now it's dropped to 20.9. If I scroll through after charging, so this was the entire time since I've picked it up, it's about 19.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. And remember, when I get the press or media cars, the car will be in idle a lot of the time on with air conditioning just to keep a good ambient temperature, so I can check out the car, so I can record some content for you guys. If I look at the accumulated info, so this car hasn't been reset for the past 2,300 kilometers and 77 hours, almost 77 and a half hours. And the average is 18.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So I think that's really acceptable, and that does line up similar to the Model Y. It probably is thirstier than the Model 3, but that kind of gives you guys an idea. And just remember, at the end of the day, this is a press car, so it's probably driven a bit harder than I guess a normal average everyday person would be driving, and not testing the car constantly. So that's essentially all the range. So, you know, at this point in time, I am at 54% state of charge, and it says 221 kilometers left on range. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. It's a 77.4 kilowatt hour battery, and so I think for everyday duties this is perfectly fine. There's no issues with it. It's definitely enough for, I guess, the majority of Australians that are driving around, especially in Metro Sydney. And so if you guys have one, let me know what you guys think, or if you're thinking of buying one, let me know what you guys think. But let's jump through to some things I like about this car. So this car is an absolute head turner. Now I know looks are always subjective. Change topics for a moment. We have just come to almost a dead start-stop traffic with the radar cruise control, and it has literally pulled down, and I did not step on the brakes. It pulled down to a very acceptable distance fairly quickly. So it went down from 100 down to about 28 to 30 kilometers an hour it maintained that 1 car distance, I believe. Now I'll have to work through it in the edits, but I'll show you guys the front camera as we're coming towards a break. It didn't slam on the brakes, so it wasn't really awkward. It didn't wait till the last minute to then slam on the brakes. So Hyundai, fantastic in having that. Yeah, it didn't feel like I was going to fly out of the car. I don't have much more to say, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware that, you know, radar cruise control with 1 car distance, it seems to work fairly well in this specific example. Anyways, what we were going to say was, let's talk about some things I like about the car. So, this car, as I said, is an absolute head turner. I will preface to say that looks can be subjective, but from the time I've been driving, this car is a head turner. Potentially also because the car is, I guess, rarer than a Tesla, as an example, but there are so many instances where people have turned their cars, they've had a look, or, you know, you're getting out of your car in a shopping center and, you know, people driving past or people walking past, you can see that their heads are literally following the car. So it's pretty cool to see, but yeah, it is absolute head turner, and it is a very unique styling or unique shape. You may say that, yeah, it's fairly common because it looks similar to, I guess, like the Mercedes CLA, or because of that spoiler. You know, some people have mentioned previously that it's like a Porsche 911 or the old school ones. Whichever way you think, there are design cues that do give that vibe off of those two vehicles. So people do look at the car. It's got very nice and also unique designs on the headlights and taillights with the dot matrix LEDs. So I think that's also pretty cool. But yeah, if you guys want a car that's not a Tesla, that looks funky, that does also grab attention, then I think this is something you can absolutely consider. The downside of having a car with this shape is that on the back, the design slopes down quite a fair bit and you'll hit your head. No two ways about it, you'll absolutely hit your head. And if you guys do put kids in and they're at the age where you do need to carry them in, you're going to have a really sore back, so I hope you have a good physiotherapist or a good masseuse to get your back corrected or to get massages. But that's essentially to do with the shape, so it is absolutely a head turner. The next thing I want to talk about, what I like the fact that Hyundai have an app. So it's called the Bluelink app.
Alright, so this is the Hyundai Bluelink app. So once you've set up the phone to the car, which is essentially via a QR code, setting up an account and using the Hyundai Bluelink app, once connected, you can see on the right here in blue that the car is connected and you've got how many remaining kilometers left on range and whether or not the car is plugged in. You've then got vehicle controls, which is the same as the next section down the bottom. You've got EV service, frequently visited points, you've got valet mode, vehicle status, and a couple of other settings specific to your phone or your car. Now, I've already got the vehicle status with the climate control on over here, but I'm going to push it once in terms of starting climate control so you guys can see what that actually means. So if you want to hit start climate control, so outside is fairly cold and frosty at the moment, so if I click that, you'll see that it says here, send remote control command, set temp 24, demister on, heating on, steering wheel heating on. So if you hit OK, that essentially starts it up and you'll see that it's got a blue circle around there and climate control activated. So it's actually fairly quick compared to some of the other Kia models that I've had in the past. But overall, it seems to be exactly the same app as you'd expect between the two brands. And yeah, it does give you confirmation to say it has been activated and then it should be on. So jumping down to vehicle status or other controls, so you can see some of the information here: charging status, battery level, scheduled charging, climate control. Current view is essentially taking snapshots around the vehicle. Climate control status, as you saw, we've turned it on, so this is everything you've got here. And then there's other controls or other information that you've got on the car down the bottom here, just showing that doors are closed, charge ports closed, battery is good. And then you've got vehicle management as well, which essentially gives you driving information, details, energy consumption, and also fault diagnosis. So I think it's fairly cool having access to all of that analysis right there from the get-go. Other than that, you've got your map, which just shows you where your car is, and then in the more section on the right, you've just got some account, vehicle, app settings, EV service settings, and yeah, some general information on customer service and how you can get in contact with them. So that is essentially the Hyundai Bluelink app. It essentially helps you, I guess, navigate and control your vehicle. The one thing I will call out is that it does not have a phone key function. So whilst you can do lots of cool things similar to a Tesla, as you can see here in terms of the control for the vehicle, you still do need to have your key to go wherever you need to go. So yeah, that's it. Any questions, let me know in the comments below.
You would have seen the demonstration before, earlier on in the video, but basically I think it's something that, you know, as an EV, because there is no emissions, it's something that every manufacturer should absolutely have. You know, there's so many benefits to having access to an app. So things like being able to see where your car is from a security standpoint, whether or not you have something like Sentry Mode or recording cameras is a totally separate argument and a separate feature to discuss. But having access to your car, things like pre-cooling, being able to check even like your battery percentage to see if you need to charge your car, because, you know, you might not always drive your car, and you might want to just have a quick check on your phone to go, you know, if you know that you're going for a long drive tomorrow, how good would it be for you to be able to just open your phone, check the battery percentage, and then you'll know whether or not you need to charge or not, or if you need to detour in the morning to get the car charged, as opposed to needing to get into your car to check. So yeah, look, there's heaps of other benefits of having an app, but I guess those are probably some of the key ones to begin with. Phone key is probably the one thing that this car doesn't have that I wish it did have, and some other manufacturers are starting to do that, so that's really good to see. But at this point in time, you guys will have to still carry the key. Now let's talk about ride and handling. So it's another thing that I actually do genuinely like about this car. Now seats are okay. Look, they're not as supportive from the bottom section, as I said earlier on when I showed you guys just the interior and the seats. The front seats are a bit flat as you enter. However, the plus side of that is you have a lot more comfort. It literally does feel like a couch. The sides the bolsters don't protrude heaps, as it's not like a sports car, and you're not expecting bucket seats in this car, so they don't wrap around you heaps, but it does wrap around enough for you to feel it and to be quite comfortable. Seats aren't too hard, they aren't too soft. So I mean, I've been sitting here for about 42 minutes so far, and I am still very comfortable. There's no issues with regards to that. This car does have the relaxation mode, so you guys can actually kick the seat all the way back, assuming you don't have any kid seats in the second row, and you can actually kick your feet up if you want. But this version in the IONIQ 6 does not have the reclining section down the bottom to actually hold your feet up. That's just something to I guess remember if you are comparing this to like the IONIQ 5. But yeah, back onto the rest of the ride and handling. So I feel like even though this car didn't have local ride handling tuning, it's absorbed speed humps and everything really, really well. So, you know, I've just gone through a couple of bumps just now. It's just absorbed it, and these are on 20-inch wheels, so they're fairly big as well. It's definitely not a rough ride. It holds the vibrations and it just absorbs all of the vibrations really, really well. So there's no complaints there from my end around the ride and handling. We will talk about the steering though in a moment, but ride and handling wise, is it comfortable? Absolutely. It is a lot softer than some of the other cars, but it's not soft to the point where the car feels airy and unstable or there's a stack of body roll. The other thing I like about this car, legroom. There is, and this car is deceiving in terms of size. So both passenger in the front and in the second row, there is so much legroom that you can, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in the video earlier on, you can stretch your leg all the way out. You'd have to stretch your ankles to get your feet underneath the front, which is to the point where you're uncomfortable. But that goes to show how much space there is. So, you know, if you've got really tall people, the only thing you're going to have to worry about is probably the headspace, because of the shape, how it curves down so much. But legroom for the passenger and for the back, even with kid seats, I would say I'd rate it like 9 or 10 out of 10 for a 5-seater car. Like, there's just so much space. You guys really have to sit in one yourself to actually understand that. In some of the other cars, you just feel, I guess, a bit more cramped, and there's just a lot less space. So well done to Hyundai for all of that. And the one last thing that I really like about this car, and you know, some will say it's a first world problem for some other vehicles that don't specifically have this, but I like the way they've designed the wireless charger. Now, wireless chargers, you may say, Roland, it's all the same. It's a Qi charging panel that you put your phone on, and that's that. Wrong. Well, you are partially right. On this car, they've got the specific Qi charging panel raised up, and the bits before and after that dips down, which means that people like me who have a thicker camera bumper cover can actually charge their phones wirelessly. Fantastic. Who would have thought? And I say that because as a Tesla owner, where we have 2 charging pads just underneath the screen, my phone doesn't charge there at all. So I do have the dual MagSafe stand or mount, but it does not charge on the Tesla charging pads, my phone at the moment. And it's an iPhone 15 Pro Max with a clear case. I'll put an overlay with a video, but basically it's a thick clear case, and it's got a camera bumper with a stand, and it doesn't charge on the Tesla. But because this bit has been raised for where the charging area specifically is, the phone does charge, which is fantastic. Now, let's talk through a couple of things I don't like about the car. I'm still not a fan of the digital side mirrors. However, I'll give 100% credit to Hyundai for updating or putting the location of where it is, and maybe this is part of the reason why it won, you know, the design award of the year, car of the year last year. The location here is very, very good. It's probably as close as you could get safely without obstructing road view to a normal traditional mirror. So I love how it's actually right here, and I'm not actually looking down towards over this side. I can still maintain my eyes on the road a lot more, and I can also still see what's technically behind me just by having a little glance to the left and the right. And you guys should be able to see this with the video overlay as well. Now, the other thing I don't like is this car is expensive. Now, it's not to say I don't like it. I think in terms of the immediate competition, there's just a lot that people need to consider because this is an expensive car. So now, based on the website, I only pulled the drive-away prices, and I'm based in New South Wales. This car is $94,000. So, you know, it's almost $100,000. Closest competitors: Tesla Model 3, BYD Seal. Tesla Model 3 Performance is about $87,000, $88,000 drive away. That's for the performance variant, which is a lot quicker. You've got bucket seats, and yeah, there's a whole lot of other comparisons, I guess you could say specifically, but it's about $87,000. So it's about $7,000 different so far. That's the Model 3. Then you've got the BYD Seal. Now, the BYD Seal Performance spec I looked at was just under $69,000 or $70,000. So that's almost $24,000 difference between the BYD Seal and this. Now, I know totally different cars, right? But what I'm comparing to is a 5-seater sedan, and being an EV, what does the comparison look like? So BYD Seal, Tesla Model 3, and this car, as I said, BYD about 69 to $70,000. You've got the Model 3 Performance about $88,000, and this car is $94,000. So if you don't want a Tesla, you still want a car that feels premium, feels good, and looks good, and you want to look at its closest competitors, you've pretty much got those options. There's probably other vehicles as well that I haven't mentioned, but just know that this car is almost $100,000 in this specification. You can opt to drop down to the one below this spec, which doesn't have the side mirrors, which of course is less, but it still will be more than the BYD seal. So that's that in relation to the price. Now, a couple of things I also don't like. There is no there is no wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. I would expect that this price, and knowing that a lot of some of the other vehicles on the eGMP platform, or even from Hyundai or even Kia, they do have wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. So why don't we have it? Is it a software update? If it is, hopefully for owners, it does come soon. But at this point in time, based on this specific model, there is no wireless CarPlay or Android Auto. It is all plugged in, which also makes me question, they've designed the wireless charging pad very well, but it is useless in my instance for my everyday use, because I need to plug in to use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which means I don't need the wireless charger. So, it's a balancing act, but I'd question why. Two other things I don't like. I don't like the speed warning. There is no way to turn this off. There's been other cars, and some of it probably has been a software update, or you can turn the speed warning off. But as soon as you're doing like 1 to 2 kilometers over, even if it's like going downhill by accident or whatever it is, starts dinging and beeping at you, and there is no way to turn it off. So I mean, that's a good job for Hyundai, which means that people are probably more prone to stick to the speed limit. But the issue comes in that the speed limit is recognized by cameras. So if you've turned onto, or you've gone to a different speed limit, but you haven't seen the specific sign, or the car hasn't picked up the change in the speed limit, it's going to keep dinging and pinging and beeping, and it's going to keep buzzing you. It's quite frustrating. You can hear it in my voice. That's how much it does my head in. And the one other thing that I don't like too much is that there is a lack of steering feel for the car. It's a very easy car to drive, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, and as I said, this is like the design thing. This is subjective. So as a car enthusiast, I like a car that feels engaging. I like a car that has a stiffer steering feel, which makes you feel more connected. This car does not have that, unfortunately. So yeah, those are a couple of things I don't like, but do the things that I like outweigh the things I don't like? I think it's a genuine balancing act. Would I still consider buying this car at all? I would absolutely consider buying this car at all. It's a head turner. It's very comfortable. There's so much space. I forgot to even mention, V2L. I mean, as I said, I'm no camper, I'm no outdoors person, but being able to have access to electricity to charge appliances, like charging your laptop, working on the go, things like that, I think is absolutely fantastic. And so that probably takes us to the end of the video. I want to say a quick shout out again to Hyundai Australia for loaning me this car over the past week. It has been an absolute pleasure in showing and driving this car to the rest of Sydney as we've been driving around everywhere. I'm sure that a lot of people have turned, seen, understood, taken photos of what this car is. And yeah, congratulations on the design last year. It seriously is a head turner, and I've enjoyed driving this car a lot. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video too. If you guys got any specific questions, comments about this car, please drop it in the comment box down below. Let's have a chat. Like this video, as if you did enjoy it, it's going to help my channel grow a really long way. So if you have not subscribed, and I know majority of, I think it's a good 70 to 80% of your viewers, I'd love if you would consider subscribing. It's going to help my channel grow a long way. I'm here for the long run. I'm not here for just a short couple of videos and then that's it. I'm here to show you guys my view on all things EV. So yeah, as I said, if you've got any questions, drop in the comment box below. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you soon in the next one.